All right, welcome to the AdaptX podcast, where we have conversations with individuals building accessible businesses, advocating for inclusion, or excelling in adaptive sports. And joined by Shay Cohen, the co-founder and CEO of Verbali, an AI-powered augmentative and alternative communication platform that helps children communicate more independently in everyday life. A veteran product leader with more than 15 years in tech, Shay has led high-impact teams at Fortune 500s and startups, building payment systems, real-time communication platforms, and consumer apps. Shay, thanks for joining me this morning.
Thank you, Brandon, for letting me join your podcast. I'm excited.
Yeah. So I came across Verbali on LinkedIn. I was really excited to see it because for a long time I've wondered how these AAC tools selfishly can play more of a role in fitness environments where I typically operate out of. And so I'm sure we'll get to that at some point. But maybe let's start with the origin story. I know it's personal to you. So what inspired you to start Verbali?
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess the easiest way to say it's because my kids. So I have three kids. My oldest, her name is Leah. Middle one, his name is Matan. It means the reason. We'll talk about it in a second. And my youngest, she's my latest boss. Her name is Miley. So Matan, he's 7. He just turned 7, and he's nonverbal. He has developmental delays, and he goes to an amazing school, regular public school, a special class. But one of the first things that you'll notice with him is that he's nonverbal. Luckily for us, and I always say this kid is a rock star. He's super charismatic and is an amazing communicator, despite not being to verbalize himself. Is super he's super communicative. He'll take your hand. He'll point. He'll try to say the beginning of a word, and so he's never frustrated. So that's why me and my wife Anna, we always consider ourselves very lucky because the kid has a lot to say and he's able to communicate it, right? But so me as the dad, I always was able to understand what he wants. But I think this is how it became clear to me that we need something better, because as a dad, I know what he wants, but I want him to be able to express himself, not just to the people around him that they know him and they know how he communicates, right? He goes to school. I want him to be successful at school. I wanted to have meaningful connections, and to all of this, you need to have meaningful conversations, right? You need a real, genuine conversations, and for that, you need those conversations to be natural. The same way that you and I have, right? Like before we started, we talked about a little bit of our background. I explained to you how to pronounce my name, how to pronounce Verbali, right? We had a little bit of jokes, but because this fluency, the ability to switch between topic quickly, this I would say, this luxury for us is something that he doesn't have, and I want him to have it. So that's how it started. We'll probably dive more about it, but this is just, like the origin story of what was the motivation for me to start thinking about a better way.
Yeah. So the latency between you making a comment, asking a question, and the response that a traditional AAC software provided is kind of what makes it not fluent. So how does verbally, we'll probably go back and forth on the pronunciation. How does it address those maybe time lapses in the conversation?
Absolutely, yeah. So one of the things I noticed that today, so I don't know how many folks from the podcast know what AAC is. So I'll give like a quick sentence of what it is. The best way to describe it is a tool. So it stands for Augmentative and Alternative Communication System, and the best way to think about it is a tablet that acts as a keyboard, but instead of letters, you'll have images for words. So if you want to say, I want to eat the banana, so they have an image for image for one, banana, and so on, and you build a sentence out of it. Now, everything is great and everything when you have a simple sentence like, I want a banana. But once you try to have a more complex conversations, you need to have a bigger size of vocabulary bank, right? Meaning you need more images. And where the problem is that you have limited real estate on your screen, right? The more images, the more words you want, you need more images. So it becomes busy on the screen. And then you go into drill down system. So you need to, like, you go to verbs, you have a page for verbs or page for fruits and stuff like that. So you become like chasing the word that you're looking for. And that chasing, it's time consuming, it's energy consuming. So that's where the problem is, that if you want to have a fluency conversation, you want those words to come really, really fast to you, right? Again, going back to how you and I are speaking, right? We don't think about our speech, we just speak. And today with AAC technology, before Verbali, you really needed to plan your sentence. And planning takes time. Planning takes away from the natural experience. So what happens that kids or adults who use AAC, the conversation flow breaks, because now they're building the sentence. So the downside of it is that, and it can take 45 seconds on average. Unfortunately, the downside of it is that, yeah, you might get a good sentence, maybe eventually, but the other side, the partner for the conversation, will either, if they're a kid, they might walk away because they get bored, or they'll change topics. In both cases, the outcome is that the kid wasn't able to express themselves. Right. So with Verbali, what we're doing, instead of the kid chasing for the word, instead of the kid looking what is the planning for the sentence, we are using AI to help predict what the kid might want to speak of, right? And responding much faster for the conversation itself. So the app, which is called Matok AI, and there's a nice story about the name behind it. Basically, understand the conversations. We're using AI to understand the conversation. We're using AI to take context signals from the environment, like the weather, the time of day. Are we in a holiday, right? If it's Christmas, like, you have different topics that you might talk about in Christmas that you won't talk about Thanksgiving or something like that, right? Or a regular day. And we're using all of that in order to hand over the statistically possible answers for the kid to respond to. So instead of they're chasing the words or chasing the answers, we're handing them options that are relevant, right? In order for them to speed up the conversation in a more natural way. I would pause here and just say that the kid or the adult the individual who's using the Matok AI is always the driver. So we're not replacing them. They are saying what they want to say. The only thing we're doing is just hand them over the right options.
Yeah. Yeah, that was going to be my question, kind of like you said earlier, like, I want a banana. And what if the AI kind of determines that most mornings your son wakes up and says, I want cereal for breakfast. So that's the thing that it gives you. But then what if that preference changes and it's using these reinforcement learning strategies? And does it ever kind of hallucinate and give you things that it doesn't want? And I guess you kind of answered my question with that last disclaimer at the end, where the individual is still making that final say in what they want. So is the Matok just giving you maybe 5 or 6 different options on the screen, as opposed to you having to type in every word?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yes. So we're giving more than one option. Again, going back to the fact that the app Matok is not the kid. The kid is the driver. The kid is the pilot. Matok's job is to learn the kid, know his or her preferences. Right. Going back to food is a great example. Right. The kid might like banana. My son likes oatmeal. Right. But they might don't like eggs. Right. So eggs is not relevant in the context of breakfast for that specific individual. So instead of that being an option, we took it away or lowered it in the statistical options, right? And then hand over only 5. We are starting with 5, but it is customizable, right? So eventually you'll be able to choose 5 or 10, depends on the what you want. But the point is that you can always refresh and get more, right? So it's not just 5. If we miss the first try, we missed, and the first 5 options are not what you want, totally fine. You still can refresh it 3 more times, and so you get a total of 20 options, right? So hopefully eventually you'll get it. And the point is that we also the app learns the kid, so it learns from different situations. So the more you use it, the better it becomes. So at the beginning, we're not gonna be right about what the kid wants because we don't know the kid. We do give the option for the parents to insert a few, I would say, who the kid is, right? Who Matan is. Matan likes oatmeal in the morning, right? So this is information that the parents can enter at the beginning on the onboarding. And then we have like a baseline of how to start. But as we go, the more interactions you have, schools with friends, after school programs, all of those at the pool, right? All of those interactions, we learn, and then we know the kid's routines, what the kid likes, what the kid dislikes, who the kid likes to talk to, and so on, what they like to talk about, right? And all for the kid to have meaningful conversation, meaningful interactions for them to be able to express themselves.
I saw in the demo that there's kind of like an avatar or a caricature that is involved. Is that a customizable feature that is intended to resemble the individual?
Yeah, so we start with yeah. So I love this question.
Well, I just think that would be just a really cool feature that just brings a whole nother level of personalization versus the traditional lower tech AAC communication.
Absolutely, so. Yes, absolutely, because AAC needs to be not just a tool; it needs to be a cool tool.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So part of that, we need to give it a character, right? So first we started with Verbi. So Verbi is Verbali's mascot, and it's basically a robot dog. That because what it is, it's Matok acts as your companion, and you have the option to call for the partner to remotely trigger the listening mode, right? You don't have to click on the button. You can just say, "Hey, Verbi," and it starts. So this is how we start with. We give the Matok a character, right? So we give it a mascot that's Verbi. You can see it in our logo or on the website. And then we were like, okay, we have images, and the images have kids playing around, running around on those images. We need to be basically those are our kids' heroes, right? Our parents, like our heroes, right? So how can we make this more lookalike to the kid or to right? So at first, this is where we're at now. We have 6 options: kid, boy, girl, and so on, and that you can customize it based on who you are, who your kid is, right? We are looking to extend that using, and this is where I go always and say AI is so cool, it's so fun, it gives you so many options that you can explore, especially now with the latest Google Nano Banana. Just it's fantastic. So we can take those images and really create an avatar for the kid. And our plan, it's not now, but our plan is for that avatar to be part of the image itself eventually, right? So it will be really, really customized. So when the kid sees the scene, the image, the scene, they basically will see themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be really cool if you could upload a family photo and then like those people are the ones that populate the app.
Yeah.
What's the foundational model that it's all kind of built on?
So we're using different models. We're not using specifically one because each model is good in different ways. So, for example, for images, we're using Flux and Google. for different type of images. For our assistant, we're currently using OpenAI. Google helps with the translations. OpenAI also help with the transcription. So each model uses different things because AI works on the front end, which what you and I will encounter when using the app, but it also works on the back end when we're creating the images constantly and making sure those images are the best image that we can provide. So everything, it's an ecosystem of assistants and agents that help us bring the best experience possible to the ASC space.
Yeah. What were your main concerns, I guess, with the technology or how the technology was built? I know there's techno pessimists that don't love all the AI tools. Obviously, they create a whole suite of opportunities that didn't exist even 2 or 3 years ago. But have you identified any aspects of the AAC device that are, yeah, maybe concerning to you or that you guys are focusing on specifically?
For AI or AAC?
I guess just either the AI tool that builds your program or your software itself. Like, are there any, I guess, deviations that you're kind of focusing on?
Yeah, yes. So I would say I think the answer for this is twofold. I'll start by a short answer is that from perspective of a person, an advocate for the assistive technology space, I would say that I have no concern. Actually, I think AI is a blessing for this space. AI is the technology that we needed to help us push this space to the moon. I mean, it gives us, the caregivers, so much flexibility, and it gives the people who needs that assistive technology so much independency, because the AI basically it's a small brain, and sometimes even smarter than us. So I would say from the corner of assistive technology space, I would say I think it's a blessing. Going aside to the bigger picture, I would say I don't think concerns is the right word. I think challenges is the. I think for me it's a better word, and I'll explain why. I think the best way that I at least look at AI is that you have like this talented, smart, super intelligent, smart, and fast assistant, but it's also young and unexperienced, right? So you can give it a task and it will do it. It will do it fast and it will do it in scale. But like every young assistant, you need supervisor. If you're not supervising it correctly, our mistakes will happen, right? It's very normal. It's expected, right? So I think the opportunities on this is with AI are humongous. Like we're not. I don't think we're even scraping the surface on this. And I would say that AI now, it's the worst that it will ever be. It's only going to go up, right? Whatever we see now, it's the worst that it will have ever be. So as tomorrow's will be better and moving so fast. And the reason I'm saying that is because I'll give you an example, right? So we're creating images, and we have image bank that for all the words that are possible, and we're constantly adding and we're constantly fixing it and making it better and better. But at first, in our first batch, this is something that you need automation and AI. I cannot create it this manually, right? We're talking about dozens of pictures, thousands of pictures. So when we first created the first batch, I was like so happy with the images, and we're like, wow, this is amazing that it's so clear. The scene, I don't need to read what it says, and I know what it is. And then my co-founder told me that his daughter looked at the picture and she noticed something. She noticed like all the pictures are boys, and And I mean, this is interesting because I didn't notice that. He didn't notice that. His daughter is obviously female, noticed that, and it's to show that the mistakes are different now. The image is still good, but because of the scale, you might miss something. And so you need an AI. So this is where we're using AI now to help us QA the outcome of a different set of AI agents, right? To make sure that, for example, we have equal representation of boys and girls, right? That's for example. Yeah, so this is how I see AI.
Yeah, the biases. I know when some of the initial foundational models came out, there were some errors in how it
Yep.
recalled certain aspects of history or how it biased different populations or genders or races. So, but like you said, it's only getting better every day and every week. So,
Yep.
how do your son's educators and how do you as parents use the app? Like, I know obviously he's responding, but are you inputting any information into the software as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We added maybe it's a good time to mention my co-founder, Lori Azarad. He's amazing. He did an amazing job on making the app so easy to use. So one of the things we just introduced was the ability to add niche images, right? And I say niche because I think that's the terminology, but for us, for everyone, niche could be just a picture of you and I as a parent, right? It's just not a regular vocabulary.
Yeah.
Right. So we introduced the ability to add images and give the aliases for those images. Like, so for example, my name is Shay. I'm Matan's dad. I am also his father. And I say in Hebrew, that's how he calls me Abba instead of dad, right? So all of those are my aliases that the app needs to know when they show my picture, right? Because at the end of the day, the app understand the conversation, and I don't know the answer it will bring, right? It will bring something that I know it's relevant, but I don't know in what form. So we provided options for parents to cover this aspect of it, to help the app learn more about people in the kid's life, about their toys, food, locations. Look, the GPS location is huge in context signals because the type of conversations that we'll have at school are totally different than the type of conversations that we'll have at home. The type of conversation we'll have in therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, are different than the one we'll have at home. So if we want to have relevant conversational answers, responses, we need to take GPS as into consideration, and those are also part of the things that you can add to the app and customize it.
So are you pulling, because earlier you mentioned weather, holidays, are you integrating with other aspects of like an iOS, like Apple operating system to pull that information? Where is that coming from?
Yeah, so some of them are from public APIs that you can use. I think weather is a public API. Some of them are just time, date. Those are coming from your phone. It's not something that you need to and your phone has GPS obviously as well. But the fact GPS is different from the place that you are. GPS is just the coordinates, right? But you need to your coordinates can be Starbucks, right? So you need to know that this coordinate is Starbucks. This comes from another API that we're using. Um, what else? Talking about weather, speed, for example, velocity, right? If you're we're planning on integrating a velocity sensor that's built in your phone. We just need to take the data from it because when you're driving, The kids, at least my kids, they constantly ask me to DJ for them. And I want to give Matan the capability to ask his songs, right? And in order for that, I need to know, the app needs to know that they're in a car, right? So one of the ways to do it is understand that we're driving, right? The velocity. So that's
Interesting.
yeah, so that's one of the sensors that we're using, and more. We're constantly looking for better ways to collect contextual signals that will help us just make the experience better, and not better just for the kid. I think this is where it's important to mention is uh, when we started building Matok AI, we looked on three user personas that can benefit from the app. The first was obviously the kid who's using it. The second is the caregiver or the conversational partner. And because the caregiver, we want to give them a return on investment to be as high as possible. And the investment necessarily needs to be a capital investment. It could be an energy. Today, you need constantly to customize different apps, different AAC devices. You need to add pictures, remove pictures, organize it. But at the end of the day, the AAC becomes an I want machine, and that's not what we wanted, right? So the return on investment is very low. What we wanted is for the parent to have as much of flexibility or freedom as possible. You don't need to customize the app because the app customizes itself, right? Your job is just to enjoy the conversation, right? So that's the second user persona. It goes also to the conversational partner. If we don't want it to be boring for the conversational partner, right? So that's part of it, and they want the conversation to be engaging. And third, that the third user persona is the speech therapists. We want to give them the tools to create the best speech therapy they can for that specific kid. Right. Today, from my experience and talking to other speech therapists, usually they have once a week they have a speech session with the kid, and it's amazing. They're doing an amazing job, right? But when I started, I was like, is one data point of that meeting a week, is that enough? Can we create more, right? What if we have 24/7 of those data points, right? Can we make a better speech therapy? And that's how we approach with Matok AI. The data that we're collecting is always going back to the kid in different ways. So if we're collecting data to help customizing it, that's one way. And then we're collecting data to help them analyze his speech capabilities for the speech therapist. So now they will be able to have like a dashboard that will tell them this is the baseline. This is when we started. 2 weeks from now, look, he's like now clicking really fast on the images. 2 weeks afterwards, he's switching, is more engaging. Where you now will be able to see benchmarks, you'll be able to see graphs or charts of the progress. Something that they unfortunately they don't have it today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's a really interesting use case. I guess I hadn't thought of it from the SLP standpoint. So if there's different user personas, is there different pricing models, or is it the individual has a subscription and then they would just bring it to their speech therapy and use it as a tool?
Yeah, so that's what I love this question. I'll tell a story about when I went to school and university. My professor told me there are three types of questions. There are good questions, there are great questions, there are interesting questions. So good questions are the ones that have obvious answers. Great questions are the ones that are not obvious questions, but the professor has the answer. And the interesting question is a question that the professor don't have an answer.
There you go.
So this is a great question. So yeah, what we looked at it that our vision for Matok AI is for it to be a companion. You don't need to think in order to talk, in order to speak. That's That's going back to natural. That's what we want. In order for that to happen, we don't we didn't create different payment plans for speech therapists or for families. The family is the core user, and they have it's not now, this is a feature that we'll introduce in the future, but this is where we're going with it, is that you have a profile. The family will have a profile, and under that profile you can call it the kids team, right? You have the parents, and then the parents will invite the speech therapist, right? Because they need to share the data, right? They need to share the data, and they need to benefit from that data. So the speech therapist won't. Short answer: the speech therapist will not need to pay for it because their user will be invited by the parents.
Yeah. Yeah. I would imagine some of this vision for the product as a whole has evolved over time. So maybe you you found a problem in your son not having clear, fluent communication. You built it with him in mind. Did did you have this like speech therapy angle in mind when you first started? How has how has it kind of evolved from idea conception into a product?
Yeah. So I told you how I started thinking about it, but I think the what changed the way from me thinking about it to action, to taking action on it, happened about a year ago. So we went to his IP at school. IP, who for someone doesn't know, it's basically it's a thing about it as a meeting that you have between you and the school's professionals about your son's special activity at school. You agree together what you want to achieve in the coming period. And we were on that IP, and I'll start by saying I love his school, and I love his team. We got really lucky, and they love him. So even we got even luckier. But that specific meeting was evolving around AAC. His AAC is his tool, and I was like, and it was an hour and a half. And me and my wife, we came back, and I was frustrated. I was like, why we're talking so much about something that needs to be obvious? We're not thinking about us talking. It should be effortless. Why are we putting so much effort on it? So that changed the way I approach. I was like, okay, let's try. I'll try doing it myself, right? Like I had some time, and I was like, okay, so I start. I talked to a few speech therapists. I described my vision, and I noticed that there is they love the idea, but some of my ideas are it's harder for them to imagine. So I was like, okay, I'm going to build a prototype. So I had a Kindle at home, a Kindle Fire at home. Was We didn't use it for a while, so I was like, okay, I'm gonna use AI. It was before vibe coding. It was before that. So I took ChatGPT. Me and ChatGPT became really, really good friends, and back and forth. And eventually, I was able to build a canap. And my background is in engineering, but I'm a product manager. So it's been and I'm an electrical engineer, so I'm not a programmer. So everything I was able to go back and forth with ChatGPT, and I created this app. The only thing it could do was to answer questions, listen, and it listened, understood the question, and then came up with those answers, and took it to the speech therapist that I know, and I was like, okay, what do you think about that? And they were like, wow, this is amazing, mind blowing, like you have to do it, you have to do it. I was like, okay, great. And then I met my co-founder Lori, which I am so lucky to meet him, and together we started designing. So we created because we approach the entire conversation a little bit different. We break it into events. We You have the event of you responding to a question, which I talked a lot about, and then you have the event of you initiating a conversation. And then you have an event of you talking about your feelings. And then you have the event of you of shortcuts, of from like you need to go to the restroom, for example, right? So we broke those events and we're like, okay, each event will have a different user experience because it requires different flows, different context, and different AIs. So, so for example, for initiating conversation, I was like, okay, go back to the real estate on the screen. You want it to be easy to be used for kids with special needs, and the interesting thing about special needs is that they're special. You cannot predict. There's no standard here, right? So you need unique solutions, right? So what is the best way to create those things? You need to start thinking creatively. And I noticed that with my son, one of the things is that when he goes to use his old AAC, he tries to click on buttons and he has a happy finger. It's like he finger dances. And so he clicks on the wrong button. And I was like, okay, what can I create that will, I would say, fight that or protect from that behavior? Because it's like if you're, let's say, talk about feelings. If you have a button says mad and a button say happy, and you want to say click on happy but click on mad, it changes the entire conversation, right? So I was like, okay, initiating a conversation. I noticed about him that when he gets my phone, he loves my phone for some. He's like a hacker. He uses Netflix, he uses Spotify, and it's like he swipes and he scrolls, and it's like, oh my god, you can do all of this, but you struggle with AAC. And I was like, oh, maybe that's because we don't have scrolls or swipes gestures in our devices today. So I introduced that with our initiated conversation flow. And there, instead of us, the kid basically has 3 columns of them, of us predicting, but the kid helps us by pointing us to the right direction, right? So instead of us trying to predict the next word, what we're trying to predict is the topic. Meaning that if you're in the morning and you're at the kitchen and it's the middle of the week, there is a good chance you're going to talk about breakfast, right? Or maybe the bus count or something like that. So that's a topic that we can talk about. So the kid will scroll to find the right topic to talk about. And then you choose the right, he chooses the action that he wants to take. And then he chooses the object that he wants to take the action on. And then he clicks play. And what happens is that the AI takes those building blocks and creates a natural sentence for you and I to understand easily, more naturally. So that's one of the approaches that I did, and it was new. So I took it to my again my speech therapist friends, and I showed them, and I went to the JCC. They have the JCC here in this area has an amazing inclusive program since the 70s.
Yeah.
Amazing. Hats off on that. And so I went there and I talked to the director and I was like, okay, what do you think about this? This is what I did. I showed them the design because it's a new UX design that I did and I needed them to give me feedback. So they look at it and I was like, wow, we like it. We love it. I would do this. I would do that. So it was a lot of back and forth talking to speech therapists and people from the industry to get the right I would say directions, tweaks, in order to, so you have a good idea, but it's a good idea is not enough because good idea is good for you. You need to be good for everyone else. So you need feedback. So you need, in order to get the right feedback, you need to help them imagine where you want to go. So that's where the prototype came to be.
You're able to solicit feedback from speech and language pathologists and parents. Have you been able to assess how the user enjoys using the app?
Yes. So we just launched. So we're giving it. So before the launch, the speech therapists are using it in their clinics. and they're loving it. I mean, it's a little bit different for something, but it's different by definition. So it's supposed to be different. So it's like switching between Windows to Mac, right? Like it's not it's different, but it's by definition, right? So that's how we're approaching it. We get really good feedback. People say, I mean, one of the feedback I really like is that people love the images. And that's something I took. It's a different approach today. If you use the AAC before, you notice that there is a very specific style for the images on the current AAC in the market. And one of the feedback, one of the approach I took was, okay, I want this image to be universally understood. I don't want to create another language of images for the kid to learn. I want an image that doesn't matter if you're here in the US, you're in South America, Australia, Asia, whatever. A kid playing soccer is a kid playing soccer, right? A kid eating a salad is a kid eating a salad, right? Or something like that. So I created an image that describes a scene instead of a static. It is static, but when you look at it, you see an action, a kid taking an action, right? And it was designed in a very friendly, easy to understand way. And again, I took a leap of faith there. Creating this, and I got a lot of amazing feedback about that. People loves the images. This is great because now we're creating more images, and now I know this is what they want. And one of the feedback that we got was like that the images are great, but some kids might not like the background to be. They would like to see the background white. Because sensory wise it's too busy, and so it gives us the food for thought for me and Lori, my co-founder. So like, how can we make our Matok AI even more customizable? So we are working on ways to increase the setting page so parents, and this is again going back to AI gives you so much flexibility. So parents they know their kid the best. So they'll be able to know, okay, my kid understand the image of a kid playing soccer, for example, right? But the background of that image of an other kids in the background playing, it's too busy for it. So I would like to remove it. We'll eventually give the option for that parent to just remove it in a swipe of a button, and not just for a specific image. It will be obviously for the entire database. So it will be the image will be even better for their kids, right? Because it's unique.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's there's so much diversity obviously within the diagnoses that use AAC that it has to be individualized and user centric. So AI is really the only way to do that in a prompt and scalable manner.
Yeah.
Yeah. I work predominantly in fitness and physical activity, and I kind of gave you a heads up beforehand to maybe see if we could talk about how Verbali could be used in something like a gym setting. So your son comes to my gym. How can he and I communicate in a way that makes that experience more enjoyable for him?
Yeah. It's something that so one of the things I noticed with the AAC today is that they're bulky. They are usually come in the form of a tablet. And it's great if you're in a school environment, but what happens if you walk in your hallway? What happen if you're in the playground or at the gym in this case, right? You cannot use a tablet. And if you're using a phone, it's maybe good for the hallway, but it's not good for the gym or the playground because it's not safe because of the string around your neck, right? So this is where Verbali comes to play because our vision is to make it, again, I'm going back, I know I mentioned it a lot, is going back to natural. The same way you and I speak, I want it to be the same way for them. for everyone who needs AAC. And the way to do it is not just to introduce a tablet, an app for the tablet, or an app for your phone, but it's also introduced an app for your watch, right? Because the conversation still happen, but they might be a little bit different. They might be not as rich as you're at school environment, right? Because you're in the playground, you're going to write on this, I'm going to write there, I'm going to write there. You still want to have a conversation. You'll need a different UI and UX for it. And the hardware for this, the same way Verbali is envisioning it, is an AAC on your watch, right? Today we have amazing technology that Apple, Samsung, Google all provide with their in German provide with their watches, smart watches, and the sensors are there. The connection to Wi-Fi or 5G is there. And it means that the only gap is for Verbali to create the right UX for the kids to be able to utilize this watch to communicate in situations, in scenarios that they're on a kayak or at the gym or the playground or place it, right? So yeah, that's where we're looking at it. We're actively looking at it and designing the best UX for it.
Yeah, that's a really interesting use case. Is there any way that it could be used to build a social story? So if your son's coming to my gym for the first time, can you lay any groundwork for what that experience might look like to him to make him more comfortable, or is that not really the technology?
Can you elaborate? I'm not sure I'm familiar
Yeah,
with
I
it.
guess. Are you familiar with what a social story is?
No.
No. So, like, for some kids, maybe with autism, like before they enter a new environment, it's a series of descriptions of what they might encounter. So, you're going to walk through the door, you're going to meet Brendan, you're going to put your water bottle on the shelf, you're going to grab your program. And it's to alleviate some of the concerns or the anxiety that might come with new environments. So, I guess I was just curious whether maybe it's just a conversation that you and he have beforehand as opposed to a laid out sequential pictorial schedule type of thing.
So you were talking, I was like thinking about something specific that might be really helpful. So I'll be honest, I haven't thought about it. Obviously, I wasn't aware what a social store
Yeah.
is. But you were talking, and I was like, oh, again, AI can be a very good tool in this
Yeah.
because Google, for example, just introduced stories, bedtime stories feature with them.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, you give them an idea for a story, and the output is like as you would think bedtime story is. Like it looks like a book, just a digital, but it looks like a book, has like 10 15 pages and with images and everything. And so you can do the same thing with going to your gym. Like you're pretty much going to say, okay, you're going to tell the AI, this is something we can adopt and incorporate in Verbali and Matan. And I'm going to say you're going to quickly describe to on the fly. You're going to quickly describe to Matak what you're going to encounter. I'm going to go to, hey, we're going to Brenda's gym. We're going to need to put the water bottle on the countertop, and we're going to do 1, 2, 3 exercises, whatever. Right? You can tell that quickly to the AI. Will immediately will come up with
Yeah.
a story like images book that you can see Matan as the kid in that images,
Exactly. Yeah.
right? And you can do that, and you can do, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you can do it.
Yeah. That's another effective use case, I guess, of something like this that can be individual centric. Are you able to integrate to like eye gaze technology? I guess I'm thinking of someone who's non-speaking, maybe because they have a spinal cord injury or a TBI. Is there a way for them to use a device through eye gaze as opposed to like the dexterity of a finger?
Yeah. So not today, but definitely in the future, because Verbali's mission is to help anyone who needs to create a meaningful conversation. And so today we're focusing on kids who can master their hand capabilities. But eye gazing is definitely on the roadmap. We are experimenting with what built-in eye gazing. So your Mac, your iPhone already has this capability. We are experimenting with it to see how powerful it is. But yes, we are going to create multi capability to integrate with Matoke. Yes.
Because I wonder if even for someone who does have dexterity and fine motor skills with their hands, if eye gaze in a way could be faster in any manner, or like I don't know, even in like a futuristic standpoint, like if there's a way for it to integrate with your thoughts, like as soon as you think something, it articulates it.
Yeah.
I don't know what technology bridges that gap outside of implanted
You're right.
invasive technology, but it would be cool for someone who has been unable to communicate due to various barriers, if you could kind of tap into what their
Yeah,
thoughts are.
absolutely, absolutely. This is definitely on the roadmap. We are experimenting. But again, we one of Verbali's pillars or and Matok pillars is superb user experience. We're not going to introduce something that is just good enough because we need kids and parents to be able to rely on it. And the way to do it is to have a user experience that is as good as possible. So we are experimenting with, and part of it is going back to the eye gazing, right? We're trying first to see what the current technology that you have on your phone has, or your tablet, what it's good for, because then you don't need to add anything, and then it's as light as possible, right? And if it's good enough, or sorry, if it's good as it should, right? Then we can incorporate it best way to Matok. So this is where we are now. We're experimenting to see what is the current technology that your already hardware devices. So you won't need to buy any other additional technology. Again, inclusivity is not just the ability to be part of something, but it's also financial inclusivity. And this is where part of our mission at Verbal is to give the ability for everyone to have AAC without the thought about how much does it cost. It's too expensive. That's why we're introducing it in Apple. We're introducing it in iOS. This is why we're introducing Matok with Android, and we will introduce it with Kindle Fire very soon. Remember, the prototype started with Kindle Fire, and that's where we're going because we know a lot of homes have those Kindles, and they're cheap, and they are very safe for kids, and they're kid oriented. So it will help the kids get the AAC that they need faster and a more accessible way.
Do you envision having a suite of products, or like on the 5-year vision? Do you think it's Matak AI with different features? Do you think it's different apps or different software within Verbali?
Yeah, so I do think there will be a suite of products. Definitely, we're constantly adding more features. Constantly adding more features. One of the first features that we're introducing now today, it's actually we got the approval from Apple today, was a free trial, 7-day free trials. When we launched, we got amazing feedback. We got this is amazing. So one we like we got the International Society of AAC president reached out to us. She said this is amazing. Parents said, and we understood that the technology is legit. Our technology is legit. The hunger for this technology is there. We just need to make it more accessible. So our first feature that we put on the roadmap was to introduce the 7-day free trial, so more people will be able to use it easily without thinking, oh, I don't want to pay first month or something. Just use it, download it, enjoy it. And so it's available already with Apple. Android would probably be this week or next. We're waiting for Google to sign give the thumbs up. And so this is from a features perspective. We're constantly adding more. From a suite of products, yes. I look at it more of like an ecosystem that goes back to what Matok how much Matok is customized, how much it can help the kid, right? So AAC helps the kid communicate, but it's not just the only way, because the kid grows, right? They want to do more things, so why not helping them talk, for example, not just communicate but actually speak, right? Today you need to you say sight words or stuff like that, but what I guess a lot of speech therapists will tell you, you need to find the right motivation for the kid to cooperate. But what Matok will know what the kid likes. So if Matok knows what the kid likes, then why not use this data in order to customize also the teaching process of sight words? Find the right words that excite the kid to say it, right? So we can do that. We can use the data also to customize learning material specifically for the kid. Again, goes back to what the kid is motivated. I mentioned at the beginning about the data, the dashboard for the speech therapist. Where this data, it's like an ecosystem that you have a lot of different corners that feed each other. So you will be able to enjoy it in different scenarios in your life. Also, smart keyboard that you can use tone with, voice tones, right? And customize. We have the sky is the limit.
Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to seeing how it develops. I
Yeah.
know you guys have a wait list to join the app, but if people want to learn about the software, if they want to try out the software, where can they go? We can include the exact links in the show notes, but what's the best way to follow or support your work?
Yeah, so obviously download the app. Now there's no waitlist now. Now you just can go ahead and just
Okay.
don't the 7 day free trial. Just go ahead, use it, try it. You like it, amazing. If you have, and we also have on our website, we will incorporate it also eventually in the app itself. But in the website, if you have, it goes back to unique solutions. If you have something that you would love to see on your kids AAC. Or Matok AI is amazing, but it's missing this for it to be perfect for my kid, right? We have a space on our website that you can actually write us specific feedback with feature requests, language requests. And we are actively reading this, and we are actively exploring ways to incorporate all of those requests in our future offering. So that's another way to reach out to us. I'll add my email address to the podcast afterwards. So if someone wants to reach out, ask questions, anything, yeah, it's there.
Yeah, no, I love the technological innovation. I love products that solve real world problems, especially when the origin story is deeply personal for the guests. So, yeah, I really enjoyed learning about it, talking about it, and I'd love to see it widely adopted in schools and gyms and different environments. So, Shai, I appreciate not only your time this morning, but your mission and the work that you've done.
Thank you very much, Brendan. This was amazing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for listening to the AdaptX podcast. Our effort to amplify the ideas of our guests and create more inclusive and accessible industries is futile unless these episodes reach a larger audience. If you enjoyed our discussion today, please leave us a rating or a review on whichever platform you use. And if you would like to learn more about AdaptX, the course that we teach to health and fitness professionals and the projects that our organization is working on, you can subscribe to our newsletter through our website, www.adaptx.org. Until next Monday.